This is a story of my life from several years ago that I wanted to share with you guys today. The year is 2008. I had just graduated Advanced Individual Training at Fort Gordon, Georgia as a 25 Bravo Information Technology Specialist. I was assigned to 555th Engineer Brigade, Triple Nickel Headquarters Company at Fort Lewis, Washington. At the time, all of the systems on that post ran Windows XP Service Pack 2. In my spare time at home, I used Linux. I experimented with batch and bash scripting, and I was always exploring and tinkering and experimenting when just trying to learn and teach myself as much as I could. And one day while I'm sitting at home tinkering and exploring, I remembered that there's a service in Windows called Messenger. And I remembered in high school we used to use this Messenger service to send messages to people to kind of play a little bit of a prank on them. What Messenger allows you to do is, if you know the IP address or the host name of a system, you can net send target host and some message, and they will get a little pop-up on their screen of the message that you sent. Now, what we had done in school is basically a few of us memorized the IP addresses and host names of the systems that were in the library, and we would go hide behind the desk and log into a system and wait for somebody we didn't know to log into one, and then we would send them random little messages to make them think that they were being spied on, that they were being hacked, that we were watching what kind of shady stuff that they were looking at on the internet. You know, it was just a harmless little prank. So fast forward several years, I'm in the Army, and we're still running Windows XP, and I get to thinking, hey, could Messenger be exploited? Could it be a vulnerability? And the reason I'm thinking this is because at this time, we had upgraded to Service Pack 2, and Microsoft had disabled the Messenger service with upgrades to Service Pack 2. So if you wanted to use it or needed it for something, you had the option of going in and manually turning it back on, but the default behavior for Windows XP was now that the Messenger service was disabled and no longer functional. So I sat down and spent a few minutes and came up with this little script. It basically starts the Messenger service if it's not already running, and then it sends the message. The problem is that I can do this without asking your permission, and then it goes back to the beginning, and it's basically an infinite loop until you stop the script. So I decide, hey, this is pretty nifty. I'm going to take this to work, and I'm going to show it to the guys in the office and prove to them that, I'm reasonably technically savvy. I sort of know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. So I load my script onto a thumb drive, which at the time they were still allowed on DoD systems. Operation Buckshot Yankee had not been a thing yet. This was probably 2007 or maybe early 2008 when this happened. So anyway, I load my script onto a thumb drive, take it to the office, I put it on a system, and I run it. Alright, and then I let it run for 20 or 30 seconds. Then I kill it. And everybody's, oh, okay, that's pretty nifty. And then the Command Sergeant Major burst in the door, screaming, "What is there, hackers on the network? What in the hell's going on in here?" And I get scared to death, because apparently, even though we were running Service Pack 2, for whatever reason, the Network Enterprise Center of Fort Lewis, which is basically the civilian contractors who administer the network, had pushed a group policy to manually re-enable the Messenger service on every system on post. So to put that into perspective, Fort Lewis is not like a little camp like you see in the movies. It's a stateside military installation with thousands of people at any given moment. It's basically a small to medium-sized city that's fenced in, and it's only DoD personnel and related services. And because the Messenger service had been re-enabled on all of those systems on post, everybody on the base got the message. The problem is that I can do this without asking your permission over and over and over and over, and they all had to click through all of these. So the Command Sergeant Major comes in and screaming at me because he has gotten this message on his computer. Sergeant Dow tried to take the rap for me, and I basically told him, said, no, I messed up. You can't take the blame for something that I did, but I was legitimately afraid that this was going to be like a career-ending mistake for me. The Network Enterprise Center emails me, and they're wondering what in the world I did. They want a copy of my script, and I'm scared, so I just try to send them the bat file. It never occurs to me that I should remove the .bat extension from it, so then the attachment got stripped from the email. So I called them and just told them, hey, it's just an infinite loop of net send commands is all it is. So it wasn't anything malicious. There was no data exfiltrated. There was no unauthorized access to any of the systems. It was literally just using a built-in system to generate a little pop-up message. So the logic in my mind was that, hey, the messenger service should be disabled, so this is only going to affect the system that I'm running the script on. But because they had re-enabled the messenger service, and because I had used an asterisk as the target, because I didn't know what the host name or IP address was going to be of the system I showed it to people on, so I just put an asterisk. Well, because every system on post had Messenger re-enabled, the asterisk was interpreted as a wildcard that basically said, hey, send this message to literally every system on post that you're able to contact. So it wasn't just my command sergeant major. It wasn't just the Network Enterprise Center. It was the entire post that got this message. Now, I remember I got in a little bit of trouble. I did actually lose my administrative privileges for a little while. And I think I had to do some online classes or training of some sort to get those privileges back. Because even though this is harmless, you got to think, the post commander, the guy who is in charge of deploying these units around the world to war, the person in charge of managing this installation of thousands of people, is getting this unsolicited message that's basically taunting him that I'm doing something to his system without permission. And he doesn't know that this is innocuous and harmless and not actually doing anything. As far as he knows, there is something major going on his installation, and somebody's taunting him about it. And so that got the Network Enterprise guys yelled at, which got me yelled at and in trouble. So shortly thereafter, I'm sure they briefed about me somewhere at some meeting about, insider threats and things of that nature. The messenger service was actually re-disabled on those systems on post. And so they learned, hey, we should probably be very careful about what services and software we leave turned on our systems. And I learned that you shouldn't run your own personal scripts that are designed to possibly exploit something on a DoD system. Even if you think there should be safeguards in place against it, don't assume that the people over you have actually done the things that they are supposed to do. So this was not a career ender for me. I continued to get promoted. I garnered quite a lot of respect from high-ranking people all around me. And 6 years later, or at this point, actually it was 5 years from that point later, I left the Army on my own terms at the end of my contract. And in the grand scheme of things, this was not a huge deal because there was nothing actually malicious about it. But it was a pretty stupid mistake on my part that, for a little while, kind of scared the crap out of a lot of people. But I just wanted to share this little story of how I scared the crap out of myself and all of Fort Lewis, if only for a day or two. Hopefully y'all got a little bit of a laugh out of it at my expense. If you guys have any comments or questions or stories of your own, feel free to put them in the comment section below. And as always, this is Marcus out. Y'all take care and have a good one.